Just yesterday, leaders of the Cherokee Nation signed legislation authorizing the Gadugi Corps, a new volunteer and national service program empowering Cherokee Nation citizens to improve their communities. And this morning, we have Principal Chief Chuck Hoskin Jr. with us to tell us more about this program and how it's going to help citizens. So, Chief, welcome to the show. Thanks for joining us.
Well, thanks for having me on.
All right, well, let's get to it. You all signed this legislation yesterday, so tell us more about this new program and what Cherokee citizens can expect to see.
Well, Gadugi, first of all, is the word in our language for working together, but it's really a fundamental concept in Cherokee life dating back to time immemorial, this idea that we owe something to each other, that we're all in it together. So what the Gadugi Corps aims to do is to put some resources behind local efforts. So you may have Cherokees who live in a community where kids have academic challenges and need help with tutoring or reading programs. We want to empower local Cherokees to help out. So there's going to be some money behind that, some staffing behind that. In some cases, it's response to natural disasters. You know, when disaster strikes, it's often the community members that are first on the scene to help and last on the scene for cleanup in terms of sticking around till everything's back to normal. We want to provide resources for that. We also have Cherokees that live all over the country, all over Oklahoma, in fact, outside of the Cherokee Nation, but you can go to any state in the country and find Cherokees. Many of them want to come home to the Cherokee Nation reservation and pitch in. So we want to pair them with community organizations in the Cherokee Nation that it's already doing great work. So really this is about grassroots efforts that are already there. This will just inject some resources into that and really remind us that the strength of the Cherokee Nation really is in the communities, and that's the way it always has been.
Yeah, Chief, and I want to talk about just some of the background here. The legislation, it authorizes up to $3 million annually over 4 years. But I do want to ask you, how did you all identify this need for service and community here?
Well, many of us, our deputy chief included, Brian Warner, have been working in Cherokee communities for some time. And what we see is there are gaps in terms of resources to undertake these local efforts. There's not a lack of will, there's not a lack of spirit, but what there sometimes is a lack of resources to really get volunteers in the door to a community building, give them some structure to, let's say it's an after-school program in a very rural community. They can do it. They have the smarts and the wherewithal to do it locally. They just need some resources. And so we saw gaps that Cherokee Nation wasn't necessarily addressing. I mean, we're a government that operates on a $3.8 billion budget. We're becoming a big government. I think we do a lot of things very well. But what I see across the country, whether it's the federal governments or some states, is they sort of lose their way. They forget where they came from. We don't want to get so big at the Cherokee Nation that we forget that it really starts at the grassroots. And so the deputy chief and I started to notice some gaps locally that we can't just command and control from our capital in Tahlequah. We really got to empower local people to find solutions.
Chief, can we talk about some of the priority areas of the program?
Sure. I think number one, we have some rural communities in the Cherokee Nation where there are some academic gaps. There's a lot of discussion across the state right now about how to improve academic outcomes. People have different approaches. Our approach is let's get in and help kids learn, and let's create opportunities for, say, after-school programs, reading programs that are done for Cherokees by Cherokees. There's something special about that in Cherokee society when we're helping each other, taking care of ourselves. So we think we see some opportunities to help kids in schools in some of these rural areas. I know that when disaster strikes that often, you know, it's the friends and neighbors that are the first on hand to help with cleanup or check on elders. We want to make sure we have a core of volunteers in as many communities as possible that can be trained and called up to provide some real meaningful help whenever there's any sort of a disaster. It might be a water outage, it might be a tornado, who knows what it is. We want to be ready to do it. And the other priority area is this: we really are a big tribe, 460,000 citizens. Most Cherokees live outside the Cherokee Nation. Many of them want to come home, even if they've never lived in the Cherokee Nation. We want to provide them an opportunity to come home, work with a local Cherokee nonprofit, of which we have about 70 across the reservation, and find those local challenges. It might be helping an elder building a ramp. It might be helping with some sort of a food pantry stocking or giveaway. It might be helping with a youth program in the area. But there's a lot of different little things that need some local support. But sometimes there's not a structure there. Sometimes there's not an opportunity, say, for a young person to earn a good wage being a national servant participant. We want to create those opportunities to make sure that we restore this idea that we're all in it together.
One last question for you, and really quickly here. Where can people find some more information and also get involved?
Well, right now the program's in development. We've got information out on our news website, anadisco.com right now. We'll get that link to you. We will, though, push out opportunities to apply for this going into the spring and the early part of the summer. Right now we've signed legislation. The dollars are in place. We've got to put a few more details together so we can get applications out into the communities.
Principal Chief Chuck Hoskin Jr., thanks for your time.